We're going to need a selection of these wooden beads. So I've got these slightly larger ones and these slightly smaller ones. So I'm going to use both of those sizes and alternate the colours. And then we're going to need the paint that we're going to paint on these. Now I've tried to replicate the colours I've got in the thread. I'll come to the thread in a minute. So what I've done with these, I've used these Brunel Franklin paints. Gather them all up, you can see them. There we go, so I've used these Brunel Franklin paints and I've mixed the pink, the blue, the green and the yellow with some white and made those ones. And to make the purple I didn't have a purple one, so I've used part of the deep red and part of the blue and mixed that with the white to make the purple that I've got here. And then I'm going to need some sellotape and some scissors and some twine to thread the beads onto, and also to make the tassels on the end. And then also going to use these threads as part of the tassels just to bring in some of the colours that are on the beads through the tassels. So what I'm going to first do is get on with painting the beads. So the way I paint my beads, so I'm using this old egg box here, and I've cut out some little V shapes. I'll show you on this one, you can see that one, just in the side here, one there and one the other end. So then I can rest in my wooden skewers. These are just bamboo skewers that I use for barbecues, making kebabs at home. And I've done the same in the lid as well. So I've got 6 because I've got 6 across here and I've got 5 different colours to paint. So what I do is I get my bead and I thread it onto the bamboo skewer like so, and I grab my paint and I just paint the bead round. It can be a little bit fiddly, but just persevere on it and we'll get there, like so. Just keep going with the bead until it's all painted. Like that. And then you can place your bead on there and you can finish off just smoothing the edges of the bead, like so. And then you just leave them to dry, and that way they can dry in the round. There's no holding the bottoms, holding the tops. Then you just move on to different sizes. So I'm going to do the same colour in both the large and the small, a couple of each size. So move that one along, there we go, and then move on the next bead, which is a smaller one, and do the same. So I'm going to speed up the video as I paint these beads. So now they're all dried, we need to thread them onto our twine. So what I do is, in order to make it easier to thread on the end, if you get a bit of sellotape and wrap it around the end of your thread, like this, then you make a kind of needle in a way. And all it does is it just stiffens up the twine. Once you get it all and not stuck to your fingers, like so. There we go. Then you just use that as your needle as you thread your beads on. So I'm going to go alternating sizes and colours along the line. So large purple, small green, large pink, small yellow, and then a large blue. And then as we restart the colours, however, then we start with the small beads. So small purple, large green, small pink, etc. So I speed up the video whilst I thread the beads onto the garland. Now all the beautiful colours are thread onto the garland, alternating size and alternating colours, and they look really pretty. What we need to do now is tie off the ends of the garland and make the tassels to go onto the ends. So in order to do so, I cut a length on each side. Oops, I'll try to, there we go. So that the garland doesn't come unstrung. I put that to one side. So I'm going to make the tassels first, and then with the loop we're going to tie them on with this excess bit of twine either side. So what you need is you need a kind of template, a guide. So I'm using this A5 notebook, and we're going to use it lengthwards. And getting your twine, so what we do is we hold it round, and then we're going to wrap it round 40 times maybe, and we'll see how thick the tassels are at that point. And then if we want to do more we can. So that's 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Actually, 20 looks quite good because remember it's going to be double the width. But what we need to do now is we need to get the colours into it just so we can reflect the colours that are on our garland. So I'm going to cut that one off, and then using each thread, now obviously this is thinner thread so it's going to not be as prominent in the colours, but hopefully with all of them together it should pop through enough. So I'm going to do that maybe 10 or 20 times. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to do it 10 times because we've got each of them to do. That off, so that's the pink done. Now moving on to the green. Okay, so doing the same, 10 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Trim that one off. And then same with the yellow. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The blue and the purple. It doesn't matter what order you do these in, really, because they're all going to be jumbled up in the tassel once it all comes out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the final one. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. And trim that off. There we go. And then what we need to do is we need to slide this slowly off the ends of the book. Not losing those ends because we need to sort them out in a minute. And then fold it over like so. And then what we need to do is we need to wrap up around that centre bit. In order to hold that, make sure we don't lose that loop. I like to just put something through it just to make sure it's secure. And that's going to be a nice chunky tassel on the end of that. But what we need to do now is just to tie on a bit of twine, because we're going to tie off our tassels now. So tie it round there at the base of that loop, like that, and do a nice tight tie, and double knot that, like so, and trim that off. And then just wrap that twine round that to form the top of your tassel. a nice pull together look. And there we go. So what we're going to do now, cut that bit off, and we're going to tie that in a knot on itself. And again, effectively double knot that in place, like so. And then trim that off. And then using what's left on the end of the garland, you need to just slowly feed it through all the loops so it's out the other end. And this is where I like to use one of my darning needles because they just become a little bit more easier to do this. Getting the twine through the needle eye is always a challenge, but we've got that. So then I just push it along the base of that wooden paintbrush and pull it through. And there we go. And then I just need to tie that off at the top there. You pull that in, pull it tight, like that, and then just tie it round a couple of times into a knot. Then once you've knotted that off, just going to thread up through the beads using the needle to get rid of that excess twine. It can be a bit fiddly, so just take your time. And my needle isn't quite long enough to reach out to be able to grab, so I'm just going to push it up with this paintbrush. Touch the end of it enough to push it. There we go. And pull that through. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim off that twine at the top there. There we go. That's one side done. And what we need to do now is cut the ends of the tassels. So just use your scissors and cut them through. One. Make sure they're all cut. Yeah. There we go, that's one side. So then I just need to make another tassel for the other side, and then this garland will be finished. So I'll just speed up the video as I make the other tassel.